What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another interview right here on Cassius Morris Official. And it is a pleasure to be joined by a multifaceted talent here on the channel today. We have the triple threat herself, Kayla Diamond, of course, an artist, songwriter, and founder and president of Kolossal Records. Kayla, how's it going?
Good. What a lovely intro. Thank you so much for that.
Of course, it's my pleasure, and it's great to have you here on the channel. So, the first question I wanted to ask you, maybe give us a little walkthrough about your day to day and sort of what that's looking like lately. Obviously, you've been out there doing press and doing interviews, but in terms of running a label and managing artists, what does your typical day look like at this point?
It's really like dependent. So aside from like obviously running Colossal, my main bread and butter is producing and songwriting for other artists. So like I started off the week, writing with Tyler Shaw for a couple days, and then so that was like super like okay, I was focused on getting the best songs possible, and now I'm like I took the songs back and I'm working on producing them now. And then every Thursday is like my designated Kolossal Records day. So everything we need to get done for Colossal, anything that comes up, all emails tightened up, Colossal, all of our phone calls, Thursday. So it's really about time blocking and making sure that I have enough time to like do everything in the day before I like have to pick up my daughter at 4 from school.
Yeah. No, for sure. So it's really about that time management and the time crunching, which completely makes sense. But it sounds like you've managed to, cultivate a life for yourself where the music and the creativity still comes first. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. Always, always. And everything is kind of in this symbiosis too. So like my production and songwriting is going to aid my label's going to aid my artists. It's kind of this thing that feeds itself, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's that constant 360. I really like that. So, how exactly did the dream start? Maybe let's go back to the beginning. We know that you're a singer. You're very talented when it comes to instruments and all that. Did the dream start as maybe trying to launch a career as an artist more so? Was it an artist and producer, or was there a specific focus in the beginning?
It's funny because, when you're an outsider looking into the industry, all you see is artists, right? Like, unless somebody's like super hyper interested in music, you don't realize that there's so many other jobs in the music industry other than artist that you think like, oh, well, I'm talented, so like I'm gonna go for the artist thing. And like I talk to so many other producers who were like in bands and like started off as artists themselves, like even label execs who started off as artists. So you think your way into it is like the artist thing. And so I was in law school, and a very close family member sent me this link to this contest called It's a Shot by Slate Music. And it was like, okay, if you win this, like you win a record deal essentially. So I had a song, like I put it out on YouTube. Didn't think it was any better than somebody else's song, but it beat 1,000 other applicants to this contest.
Wow.
And so I was like, that was when I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe there is like a skill level there that is actually could potentially be pro level. So I was like, this is really cool, but I've always kind of been interested in like making a song from the ground up, not necessarily being the one on stage to like perform it. So
Yeah.
I did the artist thing because that was just where like the natural progression of like getting signed, like that's what happens. And then I started to work with producers and kind of be like, well, I actually like what you're doing. Like, wait a minute, you get to stay at home and like
Yeah.
sit on your computer and like craft a song from scratch. Like that's cooler. So then there was just natural progression into like, wait, I'm gonna become a producer because now I know what it's like to be an artist. Now I know what it's like to sit on that couch over there and stare at the back of the head. So
Exactly.
it helps.
Wow. So it was really about just feeling your way through the business. You knew that it was going to be a music related path, and artistry would be involved. But really, once you dipped your toe in, so to speak, to different facets of the business, you really discovered what was right for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's definitely more fulfilling for me to see the finished product is a lot more control when you're an artist. Basically, everything is out of your control, really.
Yeah.
You can do as good as you think you can, and then and then it just doesn't go your way because of other factors. But when it comes to production, it's like, okay, I have two jobs here: make the best song ever and give it the proper production. And
That's it.
that's the blueprint.
Yeah. Do you feel like you realized, you know, before you started being a producer yourself, just how much of the weight a producer actually pulls for the artist? Because, like you say, the artist only has so much control. It's really the people behind the mixing boards and behind those DAWs that are really pulling the strings. And I guess, you know, a lot of the cases, at least.
Yeah, I think producers being in with the artists, like there's obviously labels who want to make sure that there's artist development going on, but I think the people who are doing the true artist development is the producer and the songwriters, because we're sitting in with the artist, go asking them the right questions of, okay, where do you see yourself? What does your brand look like? And really trying to make them feel like the song that they're writing in the room is the most themselves. And this year, I've been fortunate enough to help, like, sort of crack that code with multiple artists where the label has been like, wow, the songs you wrote, like, it took you maybe a few songs to get there and you have to be patient. But, I've gotten really good feedback on certain artists that I've been working with that their labels like, wow, like we were, trying to figure out what the brand is, what the sonic sound, like what the sound is, and you've really helped achieve that. And so that to me is like the biggest compliment ever, because like that's what I set out to do every day, is make artists feel like more themselves than they ever felt.
So you have artists signed to your label, but you also work with artists in development for other labels as well. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
So what's the difference in breakdowns for a contract? Like what exactly would they call it when you're dealing with an artist from another label?
Yeah, so that's pretty much just a standard production contract. So, if an artist from, who's signed to Universal, like right now I'm dealing with that right now. If an artist who's signed to Universal wants me to finish a song that we've done, like they send me obviously a production rate as well as, like, production contract, but it doesn't make me exclusive to their label. So I can work with multiple major labels at the same time and just, sign and seal those deals song by song basis. Or if they want to do like a whole EP, some indie labels like to do whole EPs just because it takes away certain, having to make multiple contracts for multiple songs.
Right.
But when it comes to somebody who signed to Kolossal, what we do is sort of like a development deal, or we've done singles deals, which is exploitation of master. So we try not to touch publishing.
Right.
And something that we do very, very differently, which is, it's surprising that not more labels are doing this. We try and give songwriters master points as well. So if a
Wow.
songwriter who is, let's say, not published, writes with one of our artists, we make sure that they are very properly compensated.
Which is very rare too. I mean, you know, maybe people out there don't realize, but owning masters at all as an artist, like you said, is something that you know, should be very common, but sadly is not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do producers do take the brunt of the work, of course. Like we are the track. But songwriters were there that and they inspired certain sounds. I work with a lot of songwriters who will say, "Hey, wait, can you just change that chord over there?" And it'll take the song into a completely different level, like to the
Right.
next level that it was. So that to me, that's deserving of a master point for sure.
Now, how about looking at some of the artists that you have, you know, been working with and breaking through social media? You know, a lot of your artists, such as Amari, and you know, there's I could go on, are really getting a great buzz. Do you feel like there's a specific format for viral success when it comes to breaking artists on social media?
Wow, this is the age-old question, right? Like I just got off the phone with Amari about 20 minutes ago, and I said, I hate to be that label girl, but we got to try and get as many eyes on this video as possible, right? So it's interesting to see the way that social media, like the role that social media plays in sort of converting fans. We're seeing marketing teams just being completely wiped out at majors, even because they can't come up with a plan that doesn't involve, the artist being the marketer on TikTok. It's kind of impossible. So when it comes to marketing, like artists have to be prepared. Like if you can't be head of marketing like for your own self, then you're not, then you don't really want it enough. And I know I've seen interviews with Russ where he says the same thing. Like TikTok is such an amazing tool for letting fans into your life and building fans. And, you know, everybody does want a viral moment. That's the goal, right? We don't, but what we want to do is not just have that viral moment. We want that viral moment once we already have all the fans. Because sometimes we'll see these trends where there's a viral moment, the song goes nuts, and then the follow-up single is just on the floor.
Yeah.
So, and our majors like Atlantic, not to throw Atlantic under the bus, but they've been notorious for quick signing, quick drop, quick sign, quick shelf. It's that is does not promote longevity in an artist's career. So we do want those viral moments, but we want the viral moments made by the fans.
Interesting. So it's really just about letting people into your life more so than promoting. And I have been hearing that, lately as well, that it's more about creating that intrigue. So that's fair to say?
Oh, for sure. Because it's all, at the end of the day, when I look to sign artists, I'm looking at who has the most interesting story. The
Right.
music is secondary to the story. The music is the tool of the storytelling. So if the story is not interesting, you're not gonna like people are just gonna be like, cool, scroll, scroll, scroll. But if you stop on a video that says, I was 12 and my mom left. Okay, tell me more. you know?
Right.
And that's kind of what we're doing with Amari, and that's his story. He's not even making him up. It's just this is me. This is who I am.
Yeah, a lot of the successful stuff I see also on social media, and I've even seen it on, your personal page with a lot of the content you do, is showing the process and, the actual behind the scenes process of what you do being the content. Would you say that that's a big element as well, that the process itself is actually the content? Because this is something we've heard from, marketing gurus, Gary Vee, whoever for years, and it seems to be really materializing today.
For sure. I mean, I always say that like when you show your process, when an artist says, "Hey, come to the studio with me. Like, let's write a song. Should I finish this? What do you think?" You're inviting people to give you feedback, right, in live real time, but you're also inviting people to go on this journey with you. So they feel like they're on the come up with you. And that's really important for emerging artists today. Like, we'll see people posting going from 10,000 followers to like 300,000 followers, and it's the fans that feel supportive and feel like they helped get those artists there. And I love seeing that because they go so much harder at shows too.
Yeah, I mean, do you find that there is a big crossover from the social media following to actual ticket sales and actual streams, or does it take even more time to grow that? Let's say somebody grows from 10,000 to 300,000 followers on TikTok. Are you going to immediately see a big crossover for the, real life sales and streams, or will that take time?
It depends on the artist, it really does. But
Right.
when there are we look at, I mean, there's also different datas to look at, right? So there's views versus, let's say, engagement. So, if there's a lot of comments going on a video where, Amari posted a video and it was like, he was just like, tell me where you're from. And like, we saw like hundreds of comments, and that from real life data, it actually translated to people, okay, joining his broadcast channel, his follower count went up, and people are actually DMing him. So there's a difference between just having followers, because you could see people with like a million followers, but 3,000 views on a video, because that's just what happens naturally on TikTok
Yeah.
and other social media platforms. But I think the more comments you can get, I I've seen it mostly just from comments. So people who engage with the social media will then gravitate to the music, which will then translate to ticket sales, which is ultimately
Right.
what this business is about.
It's definitely more about ticket sales today than ever before, right? Because I mean, people are barely buying physical music, and I would imagine that's the bread and butter.
Yes, 100%. Especially especially for touring artists, I mean, it's a very hard reality, but even on your first tours, you have to expect to on a good tour break even at most. Artists who are emerging and they book big tours, they have to know that they're going to be paying everybody else around them before paying themselves. So those are also the hard realities, but ticket sales absolutely are the driving force behind artists doing their thing.
Now, how about for you? I mean, you do so many different things. You have the record label. Obviously, you're, a songwriter for many artists as well. What would you say is your bread and butter, so to speak, when it comes to this business? Is it, the royalties from songs, or is it just a combination of everything coming together?
Yeah, so it's a combination of everything coming together. I think when I was an artist, I would get, super frustrated at the amount that I was being that I of my share that I got of my songs that I wrote, because I'd be like, I don't understand why, a producer gets an upfront fee and like I don't own my master. Like what the hell is this?
Right.
Um, what actually shocked me, and I say this very candidly, producers make the most amount of money in the industry, I would say, other than execs, because there's no cap on how much you can make. There's no cap on how much you can really charge. You get master points as well. So when I made that transition to being a producer, I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I essentially make the most on the song. The artist gets to benefit from singing and getting the ancillary rates and stuff, which is great. But even when the song is played to a stadium, like I still get a SOCAN fee for that. So that's really great. So that discovery was great. So my bread and butter is definitely production, and then as well as my label. I am the producer at my label. It's kind of this deal where like I get to develop acts that I absolutely love, but I also get to pay myself at the same time so that I don't feel like I'm, breaking my back over this thing, but we also have production budget, we have marketing budget as well. So everybody wins. It's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Wow. It's really amazing to see, how much goes into it behind the scenes and hear about this. You've earned over 60 million streams across all platforms through your collaborations with different artists. I wonder which one of your collaborations either pushed the needle the furthest for you, or is like the collaboration that you really look back to and think about in your mind.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, the most important, I would say the most important collaborations that I've ever had in my career was actually as an artist, between myself and Craig McConnell, who produced basically everything when I was an artist. And he's the one who, always sort of pushed me to speak up, pushed me to be a better songwriter, pushed me to be a better producer. I sat behind him and I just kind of watched him do his thing, and I would ask questions like, why are you using that EQ and this compressor? And he'd be like, oh, well, and he would like explain it to me, and the way he works is just so cool, and he's somebody that I like really look up to, and I see him as a mentor. So having that connection through my whole life, as a producer and as a songwriter is so important for me. And what's really cool about it is he produced my first EP. He was with me from the start. And, when I signed Amari, first guy I brought him to was Craig. And Craig now has a
Nice.
cut on Amari's album, which is really, really cool.
Amazing. So it's about really continuing those relationships. And I would imagine too that it really does feel different when you can carry somebody throughout your career and vice versa. I feel like a lot of the relationships in this business fade away very quickly. So that must hit different as well.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is knowing that, there's so many ups and downs that when you are on these up moments in your career, it's really important to acknowledge who got you there. You didn't get yourself there by yourself. And when you do get there at the top, it's not fun when you're alone. And you have to bring up as many people as possible because people will remember that. At the end of the day, all you have left is your character.
Yeah. Now, you've secured also multiple placements in TV shows. I mean, we're talking Netflix, The Voice, the list goes on and on. Curious about those as well. Which one of those, maybe surprised you that you saw the placement and you're like, wow, I can't believe how far this got me.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually shocked. I got two placements on this season of the Kardashians without a publisher. It's
Wow.
kind of my first year without a publisher, and I've been getting more placements, which I've been really grateful for. Um, so yeah, and the Kardashians are kind of my favorite family in America. So
There
when
you
I
go.
saw, when I saw my both my songs, like two of my songs on there, I was like, oh my God, Kim is hearing my voice. Like that's really cool. And I get to kind of score their storytelling. So those were like really exciting moments for me.
Now, how exactly does that happen for an artist to get their song on a show like that without sort of a publishing company?
Well, for those actually happened through totally different outlets. I mean, I sort of worked I worked on a non-exclusive basis with certain publishers. So the way I like to conduct my life now is make non-exclusive deals with publishers, just so I can get in as many rooms as possible, and so that they kind of eat what they kill. And that happened based on that kind of relationship. And then the second one happened from actually a singles deal that I had made with an artist on Kolossal. So that was my partner. Awesome has a great relationship with a sync company out in LA, and they landed the second placement on the Kardashians.
Wow, and that's huge as well. Congratulations on that one. Just before we take it home, I just wanted to ask you about, of course, Colossal Records. How long did it take for this to go from idea to reality? And if you could just break down some of the biggest challenges that you had to face in the beginning, and maybe how those challenges have evolved today.
So the biggest, I mean, I always knew I wanted to run a label. When I was like 10 years old, I was like, I'm gonna run my own record label one day. But I obviously had no idea how to do that. It actually kind of all happened very quickly. I had a conversation with my lawyer about exactly, literally 2 years ago, March of 2023. And he said to me, actually, he was like, look, I don't say this to a lot of people, but you have a great business sense. Like, I think you should start your own label. So I was like, okay. So the two of us kind of, worked hard at finding the right partners for this. And he actually was the one who really helped set this whole structure up with me. And I'm forever grateful to him because he was right. And I really enjoy doing this.
What's the hardest part about doing it, and then what's the most rewarding part about doing it?
Hardest part. Hardest part is my lack of patience, I think, and that's like just in general in my whole life. I'm a very impatient person and I want something and I want it now.
I can relate.
You can relate, and it's a strength and it's a flaw. And so, learning how to work in a group and trust people who do know more than me, and to actually sit back and learn from people who do know more than me, and let people do what they do best. That's my biggest challenge. But I'm fortunate enough to work with people who are absolutely incredible. So that's also one of the upsides, like things that are, I reap incredible benefits from making things happen for somebody. That's it. And making the right connections for people. Like in this industry, I consider myself a connector. So when I, introduce people I think are a right fit for each other, and then they go on to create like an incredible record, I'm like, yes. So when I set up proper writing sessions for Amari or like other artists, like I'm just, and it works. It's such a payoff.
I love that. Making everybody elevate around you in the circle, and making that a living is truly something that's awesome. And I'm glad we could have you on the show to discuss that. Kayla, thank you for your time. What should people be looking out for in the next couple of weeks and months from yourself and the artists over at Colossal?
Yeah, well, Amari's on a release rollout now, so he's got another single coming in a month. and he just released his second single called Teeth. So definitely go check out the music video for that. And am very excited. June 20th, the movie Brideheart by Rebel Wilson drops, and I did a significant portion of the music in that. So I'm very excited.
Nice. Awesome. Another congrats. That's going to be huge. And we obviously encourage everybody to go and check it out. Go and connect with Kayla. We have all the links you need down below in the description.